Wow. Kabir, the weaver of God's name, continued, no grief land. The state of being within the sense referred to does not imply mental introspection, or is it a symbolic or figurative expression. Although many scholars have tried to interpret this term as a mental concept, it is neither theoretical nor metaphorical. By within, the sense refer to the inner spiritual worlds, which, though beyond the grasp of the physical senses, are as real as any of the tangible things of the outer world. On going within or crossing the eye center, the devotee enters the vast domain of the spiritual region. Sense have given only hints of these realms of bliss, for they defy description. In the world of the matter, one cannot find lasting happiness or pleasure unalloyed with grief and pain. Sorrow, disease, and the death are as much a part of this world as are the transient days of youth, health, and life. As against this, it is hard to find misery and gloom in the inner spiritual worlds. As the disciple goes higher and higher, he experiences an ever increasing joy. As the At the highest region of pure bliss, there is nothing but divine love, love which is everlasting bliss, love which is God. Kabir calls this region Begumpur, the city of no gloom or no grief land. To kings and paupers, to emperors and fakirs, to one and all I give the call. If you long for the eternal bliss, come and dwell in my home, no grief land is my abode, O friend. Guru Ravidas also calls the inner realm of bliss Begumpur. No grief land is the name of the town. Pain and fear do not exist there. There is no anguish of tax payment, nor are there gods to be taxed. There is neither fear nor fault, neither dread nor decline. Now I have attained my wondrous homeland, O brother, where safety and calm ever prevail. Everlasting and changeless is the domain of my emperor. There is neither a second nor a third. Here abides only the one. It is renewed as Abadan, the city of peace and plenty. Here reside only the richest heart. They contented, they revel as and fear they wish. They know all the secrets of the mansion, and no one stops them from moving freely. Ravidas, a mere cobbler, declares, one who is the co-dweller in this town is my true friend. And mentioned earlier, the way to the inner spiritual world is within the human body, the eye center being the gateway. The spiritual region described by the sense, where the vast continents and islands are also within the body. In order to reach them, the devotee has to go within, pass through the eye center, and enter into the new dimension of spiritual consciousness. Guru Amar Das describes the human body as a cave which is a repository of inexhaustible treasures, and within which also resides God, the boundless and inaccessible. Within the body resides He Himself, the unfathomable. One who cannot be seen. Within the body are numerous regions, continents, heavens, and underworlds. Generally, in their composition, the sense have given only vague hints about the color, sound, and the light of the various regions. A few poems of the Kabir, though providing only a cursory account of the inner worlds, were meant exclusively for this disciple as part of their spiritual instructions. At the beginning of the 20th century, some of these hymns came to the notice of scholars, and a few have been published. These poems provided a guideline to the disciple. They did not undertake to furnish a detailed account of the inner realms, which according to the sense cannot be depicted in the limited vocabulary of material world. Guru Nanak and the galaxy of the sense succeeding him, Ravidas, Dadu, Plaltu, Darya, Garib Das, Charan Das, and almost all the sense of the medieval period preferred to give only vague indications of the spiritual regions. It was later sense like Tulsi Sahib and Swami Ji who tried to provide greater details of the inner worlds. Kabir, however, has generally described the inner regions through parables or unusual images. In the cave of the firmament ceaselessly reigns ambrosia. Here, without an instrument, arise melodies, but one can realize this only in meditation. Without a lake, bloom lotus flowers over which swans hovered in bliss. Without a moon, there is moonlight, and wherever one looks, one finds pure soul swans floating in joy. Says Kabir, listen, O friend. He who arrives here becomes immortal. He will never face death again. The inner spiritual region of supreme bliss is the home of the sense. Kabir says that one cannot comprehend its beauty and bliss through erudition, analysis, or intellectual speculation, nor can one see reach this land through the adherence to the caste system, ritual prayer, or ceremonies. Canonic laws and dogmas do not reach there, and religious texts are ignorant and of that land of pure bliss. And further as we are lighting flashes without clouds, we are dazzling light shines without the sun, we are pearls of radiant sheen form without mother of pearl. We are the sweet music of the divine voice resounds without a speaker, without rhythm or tone, such is my homeland, O friend. Dadu conveys this experience in similar terms. Where there are no suns, I saw a sun. Where there are no moons, I saw a moon. Where exist no stars, there I saw a twinkle. Dadu saw, and boundless was his joy. Saint Namdev has the same inner experience to share with his disciples. Without the leather covering the dumb beads, without the monsoon there is thunder. Without clouds it rains. One can grasp the sense. Describing the brilliance of the inner light, Guru Nanak says, as one sees lightning on the dark night, does day and the night see the divine light deep within yourself. The Lord is the embodiment of the bliss of ineffable beauty. He is seen through a perfect master. Referring to this light, the prophet Isaiah says, the sun shall be no more and the light by day, neither our brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee for as everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Saints giving hints of the spiritual region say that the light of the first region is the soul journey is like that of the thousand lamps of extraordinary brilliance. The light of the second stage is that of the rising sun. Crossing these two realms, when the devotee enters the third region, he finds the light dazzling bright but cool like that of the full moon. Guru Nanak gives hint of these regions when he says, when you meet the Sadguru, the Lord himself will ferry you across, and after the sky of the lamp and that of the sun, you will reach the home of the moon. All the spiritual adepts who have gone within, cross the inner regions and attain the God realization refer to the same experience. Persian mystics of the Malad room also give hints of the inner world. If you are among those who see the sun in the full brilliance at midnight, then try to converse with me. Remember, only the true souls see that sun, and once that sea is there, there is no difference between the day and the night for them. That is the inner light, always shines within them, and they are constantly in touch with that region of brilliant light. Maulana Rum adds, in the inner regions, there are countless oceans, rivers, forests, and mountains, but man is ignorant of them. He cannot even imagine their majesty and expanse. And companion with the other world, this entire physical world is like a piece of the string in a vast ocean, and Christ also remarks that in my Father's house are many mansions. And in the Persian mystics, and I say that in this foreign land there are many skies, that is regions, and many are they who govern and rule them. In the path of the soul there are great steeps and slopes, mighty oceans and vast oceans. In these inner regions of the light and spirit, the devotee meets the radiant form of the Shabd, the master of the master who has initiated him. Maulana Rum refers to this form and gives further hints of the soul of spiritual journey. If you desire to see that magnificent form, then travel towards your true home. Pass through the sky and the great star. Take courage and cross also to the inner sun and moon. Then will you be able to reach and place your head at the doorstep of the Lord's court. The entire physical, astral and the casual world has been called by the saints the region of the Brahma or Brahmand, and the regions beyond Brahm, the domain of pure spirit, also called Prar Brahma. That is the realm beyond the Brahm. This is the broad division of the entire outer and inner creation. Some saints have divided the creation into 4 regions, calling the physical or material world Pind and astral, and the casual Brahman, and the realms beyond Brahm, Sachkhand. Kabir, while describing Pind, gives some idea of the lower chakras or the centers of the human body and the methods usually adopted by yogis to reach them. All these centers are within the Pind or the physical world. Kabir rejects the practice of going into the chakras below the eye centers, Saints have ever entertained the idea of breath control in the yoga and the austerities prescribed of the undertaking these practices in the conscious state. The seat of the soul and the mind is between the two eyebrows, and the devotee can and should start his inner journey from this point instead of descending to the lower centers of the body. Kabir says that the path to the inner spiritual regions will begin when the seeker goes to the perfect master and adopts the practice of Nam and withdraws his consciousness to the eye center. The names Kabir has given to these regions may have come down from earlier sense. The first region is Sahansdal Kamal, the land of the thousand lamps. The second is Trikuti, the confluence of the three. The third is the Swan Dwar, the 10th door or the doorway to the realm of the pure spirit. The fourth, Mahasun or Banvar Gopha, has been divided into the region of the greatest darkness and that I am that. The fifth region, Satkhand, the region of eternal truth, has been further divided into three realms, the realms of Alak, or the imperceptible one, Agam, or inaccessible one, Anami, or the nameless one. Many saints have given hints about these regions and use the same names. Nevertheless, it appears that the details of these regions were kept a well-guarded secret by most of the saints, who shared it only with their initiates. Guru Nanak has called these regions Dharamkhand, Gyankhand, Saramkhand, Karamkhand, and Sachkhand. Dharamkhand is a region of action. It is a physical whirlwind, subject to seasons, dates, and days. It is enveloped by the wind, water, fire, and earth. It is ruled by the law of the cause and effect, and a soul is judged according to its actions here. Beings of various forms, shapes, and kinds live here. They bear diverse and endless names. Here the soul is unripe and imperfect, but can become perfect through devotion and God's grace. Gyankhand, the region of intellect or knowledge, is the astral region beyond the eye center, also called And. Guru Nanak describes it as a vast region with many continents, worlds, and the underworlds, with numerous suns, moons, and stars. It is inhabited by angels, gods, goddesses, and deities. The region of Brahm, the region of universal mind, has been called by Guru Nanak Saramkhand, or the domain of bliss. The sound of this region is full of beauty and attraction. This is the land of indescribable beauty and splendor. Mind and intellect and reason originates from here. Par Brahm, or the region beyond the Brahm, has been called by Guru Nanak the Karamkhand, the region of grace. The precincts of mind and Maya and end at this region of Brahm, and the land of the pure spirit, love, and the God's grace is stars when the soul goes beyond the Brahm. The sound of the Karamkhand in the words of the Guru Nanak is full of power and force. Here the sense of the duality ends and the soul realizes that it is a particle of the Supreme Being. Only brave and courageous souls reach here, that is, those devotees who have vanquished the forces of the mind and Maya. Here their thoughts dwell only on the Lord and they enjoy the unmitigated bliss. The final region is Sachkhand, the land of eternal truth, the soul's true home. Guru Nanak says that here the formless Lord presides. Here he presides, he surveys, and his will or order reigns supreme. The glory of this realm of supreme bliss is ineffable. The Guru Nanak says that to describe it is as hard as steel. The description of the inner spiritual region as given by Guru Nanak confirms that with that of Kabir, while Kabir has dwelt more on the light and the sound of these regions and has tried to provide more details of the inner journey, Guru Nanak's description is both subtle and suggestive rather than explicit. In the hymns of Adi Granth, one also finds references to the eye center, the regions of the brilliant lights, Trikuti, the Swantwar or the 10th gate, Sun and Mahasun, the land of the great darkness, the Sachkhand. The devotee has to withdraw his mind and the soul from the physical body and into the astral world through the eye center in order to become free from the physical bonds of the pen regions or the Dharamkhand. In the same way, the soul has to reach the Trikuti, the realm of the universal mind, the top of the Brahman or the Saramkhand, has to go beyond this to still higher regions in order to be rid of the bonds of casual world. While leaving Trikuti, the soul shades astral and the causal coverings and transcends the bonds of the cause and effect, mind and Maya. Then, in the form of pure spirit, the devotee enters the region of the spirit Parabrahma and proceeds further to arrive at his true home, Sachkhand. According to a saint, Shading the physical, astral, and the casual wheels is a precondition of admittance into the court of the true one. Kabir says, in this town with 9 doors, the body stops the mind that keeps running about. When you go beyond Trikuti and open the 10th gate, the Swandwar, your mind will be intoxicated with ecstasy. Guru Amadas confirms what Kabir says. Even if a person subdues his body and undertakes the intricate yogic posture, he will not be rid of the burden of his ego. Even if he adopts various spiritual practices, he will not obtain Nam. If through the Guru Shabd he dies while living, the lost name will become and dwell within the body. His my mind take the Sadguru's refuge and adore him. Only through the Guru's grace will you release and swim across the world's ocean of poison. The entire world of the 3 gunas is draws. It leads to the mind who the evil of duality, the punish need, but remains tied by the chains of attachment. He fails to discern the truth because of his love for sense pleasures. When you meet the Sadguru, you will go beyond Trikuti and enter the 4th gate. It stays the gateway of freedom. Swamiji gives the same names to denote these regions as Kabir does, and his description tallies with that of Kabir. More details of the inner force and the important distinguishing features such as light and sound are given in the sense in the disciples the same of initiation. Dadu clearly points out the unity of Kabir's message with that of the other sense when he says under the chapter of truth, poor Kabir kept saying the same thing all his life. He explained it many a way, but Dadu, the world seems to be crazy, for it refuses to accept what he said. Those who cross the intricate veils within and reach that realm of truth will say the same thing. But, O Dadu, why should they try to speak who is still wander midway? The thief without the head. Although the Lord is within the human body and the path is within, and the Master is ever present to guide and help the devotee, it is not easy to attain the goal. There are obstacles in the way, lures and attractions in the outer as well as the inner world. Entice the devotee and prevent him from progressing on the spiritual path. The biggest obstacle, perhaps the only obstacle, is the mind. Kabir calls it as a thief because it steals the spiritual wealth of the devotee through its mighty companions. Lust, anger, attachment, greed, avarice, jealousy, hate, and above all ego, who prevails upon man to dissipate the precious opportunity of human birth in vain pursuits. Kabir says, throughout the 3 worlds, the thief steals with great cunning and steals and deprives devotees of all their wealth. No one who Kabir recognizes the thief, for he goes about without a head. There is no physical foe in the world that man has not been able to subdue. He has tamed lions, elephants, and tigers, conquered forts, kingdoms, and nations, but he has not been able to vanquish his own mind. Kabir calls the mind the wild beast who has no thorns, fangs, beaks, or main body. It is the enemy hard to identify, for it has neither head, nor form, nor shape. For ages men have adopted various means to tame the mind: austerities, penances, fast renunciation, intricate yoga practices, denying the body food, water, and comforts, and have resorted to numerous ways to bully the mind into submission, but denying necessities and comforts to the body, torturing it the heat and cold, and subjecting it to the secluded life of a forest or cave cannot overcome the mind. Kabir says that by beating the snake whole, one cannot kill the snake. These practices affect only the body, not the mind. The body is locked in a dark cell. Only the body will be incarcerated, not the mind. The body may be at one place, but the mind can roam about in all directions. His Kabir, mind is like a monkey. Not a moment does it stay still. In order to control the mind, it is necessary for the seeker to know what mind is and what its characteristics are. Say that the mind is matter, it is not a spirit or soul, its origin, the source is Brahman. In the region of the universal mind, while that of the soul is the Lord, in the region of everlasting bliss. Itself inert mind draws power from the soul. An electric bulb has no light. It emits light through the energy of electric current, or it receives from the powerhouse. In the case of the mind, its connection with the soul has been made since the day of creation. Just as mind is independent on the soul, so also the soul can act and function in the physical world only through the mind. Kabir says that the devotee can only be free of the bondage of mind on reaching the state of the unmani or the region of the universal mind, the realm of Brahm. When the devotee grasps the original source of mind, the mind becomes still. He also knows the secret, who knows what mind is. Let no one's mind delude and hinder him from realizing the truth, for only he who is attuned to the Lord will obtain true peace. One has to take the help of the mind, for only on controlling the mind will one attain perfection. Through mind, the mind can be controlled. There is none other than the mind. The mind is energy, the mind is power, the mind is made of 5 elements. And who takes his mind and fixes it on the region of the Brahm, to him the mysteries of the 3 worlds are revealed. Guru Nanak makes the same observation about the mind. This mind performs action. This mind undertakes religious rituals. This mind is born of the 5 elements. This mind is evil, covetous and foolish, but when it practices Naam through the Gurmukh, it becomes beautiful. Although the mind is born of matter, imbibes the qualities of the casual, astral and the physical regions and derives its energy from the soul, still it is powerful and tight involvement in the external world. Love of pleasure, fondness of variety, and an insatiable hunger for the world and its objects are the same of its remain characteristic. Lust, anger, attachment, craving, and sensual gratification, equal and ceaseless wandering from the place to place, an object of no object, are some of its basic tendencies. Soul, a particle of the Supreme Being, immaculate and divine in its primal state, is a complete slave to the mind and its designs. In the physical world, mind also is not free, urged on by its fondness of the senses, pleasures. It has become a slave to the senses. In the words of the Kabir, mind does not leave sense pleasure, and sense pleasures do not leave the mind. Such is the nature of the tendencies of both. Thus both mind and the sense have eclipsed the soul. Guru Ravidas says, what can I really know, O Lord? I am sold at the hands of the mind, and Maya, the fugitive mind, runs in the 4 directions, and the 5 senses remain not steady. These senses together have spoiled my mind, and day after day they have erected barriers between me and the Lord Divine. Mind is always changing. Sometimes it is inclined towards devotion, sometimes towards sense pleasure, sometimes it is calm and restrained, sometimes angry and agitated. Kabir says that mind becomes thick and heavy, mind becomes thin and fine, mind becomes cool as water, mind becomes a blazing fire. Whatever impulse arises in the mind, the same form it adopts. In the moment, mind becomes a benevolent giver. In the moment, it's covetous miser. One moment it acts like a king, and the next like a miserable rage. But if the mind submits to the master, it will without doubt receive the master's grace. Mind clings to the soul like a parasitic vine. With each birth, the soul adopts the mind, and at death leaves it. But the mind, unaffected by the death, remains clinging to the soul. Mind never died, nor did Maya, but the body died, and died 1,000,000 times. Alas, mind's cravings and expectations did not die, O Kabir. Because of its desires and cravings for the world and its objects, the mind comes into the world again and again, and the soul tied to the mind has to keep incarnating along with the mind. Mind was originally a mean for the soul to move and act in the world, to associate and reciprocate with others, and to know and experience the vicissitudes of its physical surroundings. But the soul, submitting to mind's desires and cravings of pleasure, has become its slave. To take an example from Kabir, a farmer bought a sheep to meet his requirements for wool, but he neglected to keep an eye on it, and the sheep quietly ate up all the cotton fruits and ruined the cotton crop. For eons, the soul has had no control over the mind and has been allowing it to ruin the soul's wealth, its original brilliance. Mind's appetite for pleasure is boundless, in the words of Tulsi Sahib. Mind's hunger is voracious, like that of a demon. Saints have described mind as uncontrollable, like a mad elephant, rective like an untrained horse, restless like a wild deer, fickle like waves, and always changing like the colors of a chameleon. Mind's habit of running after pleasure brings misery and unhappiness, ignoring the real purpose of the human birth, namely God realization. Mind wastes this precious opportunity in vain pursuits. Kabir says time is draining away like water held in the palms of your hand, but mind takes no heed. Like a moth, it flies into the flame of passion, and in the end is burned. O mind, why do you rejoice in the sight of pleasures? Don't you see the fire that will consume you? You are hugging the serpent of sense pleasures and squandering the wealth of human birth. Says Kabir, mind is wild and capricious. One learns that through the knowledge given by the master, mind without devotion will keep burning wherever it goes. The object of spiritual practice, as taught by the senses, to vacate the body, arrive at the eye center, and journey into the higher spiritual realms. The master initiates the seeker into the practice of the Nama Shabd, through which the devotee can bring his soul and mind to the eye center, but mind is fond of running about in external world. It refuses to become still and come back to the eye center. Referring to mind's habit of constantly wandering outside, Guru Ram Das says, from moment to moment, the mind wanders in the manifold delusions of the world. It does not settle in his home, the eye center. Kabir refers to the problem of the mind's restlessness, identifying himself with the struggling devotee. My mind does not stay still within my own house. It has ruined many homes by its wayward habits. The devotee has to fight resolutely with his mind, vanquish it, and make it still. If he succeeds in doing so, the battle is won and all obstacles to the inner progress are removed. Kabir says, what use keeping long matted hair? What use applying ash over the body? What use living in caves? If you conquer the mind, you will conquer the world and will become indifferent to sense pleasures. Guru Amadas also says, if mind dies, all wandering will cease. Without subdued the mind, how can one attain the Lord? Only a rare one knows the potion that benumbs the mind. Through Shabd man dies. This is true devotee knows. Swamiji says that only they are true warriors who have killed the mind. Soul is originally pure and divine, and its natural tendency is inwards and upwards. But it is enveloped by mind, which has become impure in the company of the senses, and through its deep-rooted attachment to the gross world of matter, the soul tied to the mind has to withdraw to the eye center to the company of the mind. The mind then has to be made pure. The dross of desires, the passions that is accumulated over it, has to be removed before it becomes fit to reach the eye center. Kabir says that as long as the mind is smeared with the filth of passions and cravings, one cannot become free from the bondage of the world. When mind becomes pure, the soul will merge into the pure one. Guru Nanak said, by killing the mind, you will please the world, Lord. The practice of the Shabd will be fruitful, and the mind will recognize that the Lord of the three worlds. Mind will give up its weaving and wavering, and you will realize your beloved Lord. Mind will die or become still through the practice of the Nama Shabd under the guidance of the perfect master. Listening to the Shabd, mind will gradually become pure and will become an ally to the soul on his path of devotion. Kabir expresses this in some of his poems, and lays, put under the shackles of a true name, mind will run about wherever he pleases. Mind is stubborn and mighty like a mountain, but the moment the crowbar of the Shabd strikes it, it yields a mine of pure gold. Explore the Shabd of Kabir and through it control your mind. This is the easy way to union. By listening to the divine melody, mind will be absorbed within it, will merge into the garden and will then cease to come and go. In the region of the sun, it will gain its originate state. Dadu expresses the same idea when he says that men adopt a million ways to control the mind, then try and try but fail, and the mind conquers, continues to run in all directions. It can only be changed, but the Lord's name, there is no other way. The fickle and the restless ones run in all the four directions. Chain it with the Guru's word. Guru Nanak also declares in no uncertain terms that mind can only be controlled by the practice of the Shabd imparted by the Master. Without the Master's word, mind cannot become still. This mind, bewitched by Maya, is released by the practice of the Shabd. Swamiji says that mind comes under control when it listens to the melody of Shabd. Adopt a million ways, but the mind will pay no heed. When it listens to the melody of the Shabd, it will come under control. Except through Shabd, this slumbering mind will not arise, though countless devices one may try. Guru Ramdas says that mind will be rid of its lust from roving outside by coming in contact with the sins. By meeting the sins, my mind has come to life. Mind is vagrant, roving endlessly in many directions through the sense. It has been captured and made still, just as a fisherman casts his net and captures the fish. Saints know that craving for pleasure is mind's innate nature, and all this behavior is motivated by his habit of pleasure seeking. Its lust for sense pleasure will not be satisfied by allowing it to fulfill its desires, for mind's cravings have no end. Even when the body is unable to indulge in the senses, mind's cravings for them continues unabated. It may change phases by moving from one form of fulfillment to another, but will not give up its desire. To satisfy the cravings of the mind is to add fuel to the fire. The more one gives to the mind, the more it wants, Kabir says. That the saplings of the mind's craving will not dry up by watering it, it will grow all the more. Nor can the devotee bridle his mind by forced abstinence. Abstinence from the worldly pleasures, it cannot be forced into submission by renunciation, austerities, fast penances, and self-denial, chanting, singing hymns, and indulging in religions. Ceremonies might keep it temporarily engrossed, but cannot change its restive nature. So great is mind's power of resilience, and no amount of self-mortification can crush it. Mind never sticks to one form of pleasure. It delights in variety and gives up one pleasure the moment it tastes something else better. The sense saying that if the mind once experiences the inner spiritual pleasure, the joys of the inner regions, and the bliss of the sound and light, it will give up the outer pleasure. Kabir says that the mind, which once relished the filthy pleasures of the world, on going within and enjoying the inner bliss, begins to abhor them. Formerly it was like the crow pecking at grass. Now it becomes a pure swine and savors only divine pearls. The other says the same thing differently. When mind is absorbed in the lost devotion, where else can it go? Sadhu is salt. As salt dissolves in water, so stays the mind lost in the inner bliss. Guru Nanak says that when the Lord's name has pierced the mind, what else can it dwell upon? Mind is pierced by the name of the God. The Guru has bestowed the true gift. When the devotee's attention is turned within, the world's pleasures become tasteless for him. He then gives up his liking for senses pleasures and enjoys the bliss of the inner world. Kabir says he gives up these pleasures and experiences that joy. When he partakes of that ambrosia within, he loses all taste for these worldly pleasures, the weapons of the foe. The citadel of the body is guarded by mind with its powerful forces of lust, anger, attachment, avarice, and ego. The devotee has to vanquish them, open the gateway of the fort, the door within, storm the fortress, and capture the mind, its overload. The 5 passions keep the devotee tied down to the world and to the physical body of 9 doors. Lust pulls the mind downward, anger spreads its upwards, attachment keeps it chained to the world, avarice fans its desire for material possession, and ego hinders and prevents it from turning towards the Lord. Envy, jealousy, spitefulness, pride, selfishness, haughtiness, enmity, and many allied evils of the death offshoots of these 5 passions, Kabir says. So long as the body's storehouse abounds with the hoard of lust and anger, of ego and greed, Kabir, the learned and the loud are no doubt the same. The battle against these enemies is to be fought with the weapons of Nam, of devotion, love, and surrender to the Master. The path of the sense is not that of suppression. It is the path of sublimation. It is translating the roots of the mind from the physical world to the inner regions of bliss, the diversion of the mind's currents from sense pleasure to the beatitudes of the spiritual world is not a post exercise. It is a subtle process and automatic result of spiritual practice. The world and its objects and the pleasures available here are all transitory. They are unreal. Like a dream, one should become awake to the everlasting spiritual bliss that awaits the soul within. Kabir says, those who look upon this dream as real do not realize the suffering and misery of this world. The ignorant ones do not open their eyes. They continue in their state of slumber. Alarmed to the deadly serpent of the passions, I stay awake, the ruthless hunter's bow is always loaded with an arrow. He shoots arrows envenomed by the bane of passions. Thus the hunt's call, the deadly predator day and night. The world is his hunting ground. Men and women are the rapists, his heedless prey. The huntsman has set the forest ablaze with the fires of Maya and attachment. The strong winds of their avarice further fan the fire, and the minions of the call, passions, and the evil tendencies surround the prey and force them into his range. Kabir further says that though hounded by peril and misery, men do not worship the Lord. They run after the marriage of sense pleasures. They forget death and look upon pain and pleasure. Alas, the luckless Must do not try to understand the source of their true health and happiness. They allow the pestilence of misery and to infest their being. As the insect of the neem tree loves his bitter pulp, so the world devotes the poison of the sense pleasures as nectar. Men do not discern between this poison and the nectar of Nam, but they who do attain true happiness. Such is the design of the creation, that all the passions are provided with material to excite and sustain them. In the words of the Guru Nanak, physical beauty and the lust of friends, taste of palate is tied to hunger, greed is involved with riches, and sleep relishes even a flimsy bed. Anger barks in wild wrath, blindly it shouts in vain. It is better to be silent, O Nanak, for without Naam whatever one utters is dirt. Power, wealth, beauty, has high caste, and youth are five formidable thugs. These thugs have duped the entire world. No one can protect his honor from them. But those who take the shelter of the Guru's feet, who wink these thugs, those who are without this good fortune, continue to be deceived by them. Kabir advises disciples to contemplate on the virtues and try to cultivate them. Thus, modesty, purity, chastity should replace lust.